In 2009, scientists successfully reprogrammed the measles virus to heal rather than harm, and even managed to cure cancer. However, the virus eventually mutated and spun out of control, infecting most of the human population. The infected transformed into dangerous, light-sensitive mutants known as dark seekers who prey on humans. 3 years after the outbreak, New York City lies in ruins, overrun by zoo animals roaming the deserted streets. The sole known survivor is Robert, a former army virologist who lives with his loyal dog Sam. Together, they hunt for food, with Sam tracking animals while Robert drives around the city in whichever vehicle he chooses that day. Though a skilled marksman and always prepared, Robert has a compassionate side. When he sees a lion family on a hunt, he lets them take the meat rather than interfering. He sets a daily alarm to ensure he's back indoors before sunset, returning to his heavily fortified pre-outbreak home. The house is sealed tight, and the front steps are bleached to prevent the dark seekers from picking up his scent. Inside, Robert maintains a well-stocked supply of food and plays old news broadcasts to help maintain a sense of normalcy. He fills his days by listening to music, talking to Sam, bathing her, and preparing meals for them both. Yet no matter how much he tries to stick to a routine and stay distracted, haunting memories of the past still find their way back. At nightfall, Robert hides in the bathtub with Sam and a stash of firearms, listening to the unsettling sounds of dark seekers outside. These moments often trigger painful memories of his family. During the early days of the outbreak, the government decided to quarantine the island since it was the epicenter of the infection. Chaos erupted as crowds desperately tried to flee. Robert had hurried to rescue his wife, Zoe, their daughter, Marley, and Sam, who was just a puppy at the time. He wanted them to leave the island and stay with relatives. However, Zoe became furious when she realized Robert wasn't going with them. He had chosen to remain behind to study the virus and work on a cure. Their argument escalated to the point where it nearly caused Robert to crash the car. Despite everything, Robert still hasn't abandoned hope for a cure. After exercising with Sam each morning, he heads to his basement laboratory to continue his research. Sam isn't allowed inside since she could be infected, but Robert is immune. In his lab, a group of rats infected with the virus are used for testing various serums he has developed. One by one, they fail. Until one morning, Robert notices that a rat is actually showing signs of recovery. Encouraged, he realizes he's ready for the next phase of testing, which requires a human subject. Later, Robert and Sam stop by the local video store, where he's placed mannequins around the space to simulate social interaction and a sense of normal life. He talks to them like old friends, carefully returns borrowed movies before choosing new ones, and even pretends one of the mannequins is flirting with him. Robert assures Sam that one day he'll return the flirtation. Later, the two head to the parks where Robert has been cultivating vegetables, gathering some to take with them. They also maintain a map marking all the homes they've previously visited, selecting a new one each day to explore. This system helps them discover new food sources, though they often leave behind medicine and cleaning supplies during their scavenging. Occasionally, Robert encounters grim remnants of the former inhabitants, sometimes even bodies or untouched nurseries, stark reminders of what was lost. After refueling their car, Robert completes his daily routine by heading to the South Street Seaport, where he broadcasts a recorded message inviting any survivors to meet him there. While waiting, he keeps himself busy with activities like playing golf atop Air Force planes. One afternoon, Sam notices a deer darting through the streets, prompting them to chase after it. When the deer hits a dead end and bolts into a dark, abandoned building, Sam follows, worrying Robert. Knowing these dark places could harbor dark seekers, Robert calls out to Sam, but when she doesn't return, he cautiously enters the building. Disturbed by sudden eerie sounds, Robert steels himself, muffles his flashlight, and ventures inside. He follows a trail of blood upstairs to find a body hidden behind furniture, briefly fearing it's Sam, only to discover it's the deer. As he searches further, Robert comes across a group of dark seekers clustered near a wall. He quickly backs away, careful not to shine his light on them. Turning around, Robert finally locates Sam, cowering under a desk and unwilling to move because something has frightened her. Just then, a dark seeker attacks Robert from behind. He swiftly shoots it and escapes with Sam, directing her to take another route as more dark seekers give chase. With a plan in mind, Robert runs toward a window and leaps out, timing it so the pursuing creatures are exposed to sunlight. As they fall with him, the light destroys the two dark seekers, preventing the rest from following. After reuniting with Sam, Robert sets a trap on a bridge using a truck and an old canvas placed at the entrance of a building. He warns Sam to stay behind to avoid the risk of infection. Robert then drips some of his blood onto the canvas to lure the Dark Seekers. As they approach to feed, the trap springs. The truck collapses, pulling the creatures into the canvas-covered pit. One of the Dark Seekers, seemingly the alpha of the group, emerges from the building and roars at Robert in rage but quickly retreats when exposed to sunlight. Later, Robert brings the female Dark Seeker he previously captured back to his lab and straps her to a table for testing the cure he's been working on. He first uses UV light to confirm she's infected. Robert then injects her with a serum developed from a rat that had responded well to treatment. At first, nothing happens. But then the Dark Seeker begins to thrash and howl in pain. For a tense moment, she stops moving, and her vital signs flatline. Robert tries to revive her with another injection, but when that also fails, he vents his frustration by angrily shoving the lab furniture. Robert places the Dark Seeker behind a glass door and records his daily observations. He notes that the alpha male had willingly exposed himself to sunlight, suggesting that the infected may be losing their survival instincts, possibly due to brain deterioration, starvation, or extreme social isolation. This behavior reminds Robert of the chaos during the initial outbreak when people acted irrationally in the streets. At that time, ships were departing the island, but only evacuees were allowed to board. Those left behind, especially families with children, were desperate and distraught. Although roads were blocked by the military, Robert and his family were permitted to continue on foot because soldiers had orders to ensure their evacuation. At the port, medical scanners were used to check for infection. Robert's daughter Marley passed, but Zoe initially did not, causing panic. Robert asserted his authority to demand a second scan, which Zoe passed. Since they were a military family, they were scheduled to leave by helicopter. Robert chose to stay behind and said goodbye to Marley and Zoe, who left Sam the dog with him for protection. As the helicopter lifted off, Marley made a butterfly shape with her hands to say farewell. In the present, Robert and Sam go about their daily routine as usual, but on their way back, Robert spots something unusual: a mannequin positioned near the bridge, one he's sure he didn't put there. Feeling unsettled and questioning his sanity, he shoots at the mannequin to prove it's not real, causing it to fall. Moments later, he hears faint whispers and begins firing his gun into the air in panic. Still suspicious, he moves closer to the mannequin. As he does, a hidden trap is triggered. A car crashes down and a rope ensnares him. It's then revealed that the Dark Seekers have cleverly copied his own trap. Robert strikes his head during the fall, and as blood begins to drip, he loses consciousness. Moments later, Robert regains consciousness as his alarm clock goes off. Sam is still by his side, and with the sun about to set, Robert uses a knife to cut himself free from the rope. He falls hard to the ground, injuring his leg, and is forced to drag himself along to escape. Sam initially stays close, but freezes when growling echoes from a nearby building. The Alpha Dark Seeker appears with a group of infected dogs and releases them to hunt Robert. However, the dogs hesitate when they reach the last rays of sunlight. Pushing through the pain, Robert manages to stand and rushes to his car to grab a gun. Just in time, one of them latches onto Sam, biting her, while Robert fights off the others, struggling to aim and shoot them one by one. Seeing Sam in agony, Robert ignores his own injuries and carries her back to the lab. He administers a dose of his experimental serum and cradles her in his arms, softly singing to comfort her. But soon, Sam begins to transform. Heartbroken, Robert is forced to euthanize her, ignoring her desperate barks until she passes. Overwhelmed with grief, Robert buries Sam in the garden. Once finished, he attempts to return to his routine. He relies heavily on drugs to numb his pain. When he visits the video store, he ends up talking to a mannequin that seems to flirt with him, telling it he promised his best friend that this would be enough. Naturally, the mannequin doesn't respond, and this finally pushes Robert over the edge. Angry and broke, Robert drives his car through a group of Dark Seekers at night, seeking revenge. He kills some, but the rest, led by Alpha, attack him. They climb a light pole, which then falls onto Robert's car. They flip the car to trap him inside. However, when Alpha tries to get in through the window, a UV light suddenly blinds them, forcing the Dark Seekers to retreat. Robert, injured from hitting his head during the crash, realizes someone else is carrying him in their car. This man asks where to take him, and Robert gives his address, warning them to ensure they aren't followed. That night, Robert dreams of his family once more. After a helicopter leaves, The government destroys the bridge to isolate the island. During the chaos, one helicopter loses control after people try to board it, crashing into Robert's family and killing them instantly. The next morning, Robert wakes to the sound of an animated movie playing on TV. Though his leg wound has been stitched, he remains cautious, grabbing a gun before heading to the kitchen. For a brief moment, he thinks he sees his family again, but it's actually Anna and her son Ethan, who were supposed to rescue him the previous night. Anna prepares breakfast, prompting Robert to lower his gun and join her to hear her story. She explains they're from Maryland and, after hearing Robert's broadcast, stopped at the port before heading to Vermont, a mountain-safe zone believed to be free of the virus due to the cold climate. Robert, skeptical and bitter, insists everyone is dead and angrily places Sam on the ground. Realizing he's losing control, he retreats upstairs for a moment alone. Once calmer, Robert returns and uses a movie quote to reassure Ethan he means no harm, admitting he loves the film because he relates to the monster. It symbolizes his deep loneliness. He thanks Anna for saving him, and they talk briefly. Anna shares that she was evacuated from São Paulo on a Red Cross ship, but the boats weren't permanent. After the Navy split up, her group returned to shore for supplies, only to have their boat stolen. Though 5 of them were immune, the Dark Seekers killed them. Despite this, she still plans to reach Vermont, but Robert refuses to leave, choosing to stay in the city and continue searching for a cure. Later, Anna followed Robert into his lab and was shocked to see a Dark Seeker inside. Robert told her that the creature was sedated, so she didn't have to worry. He places the infected female Dark Seeker on ice, thinking a drop in body temperature might improve the serum's effectiveness. Anna explores the lab and finds photos revealing that Robert had previously tested several serum versions on human subjects. All failed. That evening, Anna finds Ethan asleep, and Robert offers to move him to his daughter's old room. He shares a bit about his family and reveals his daughter was named after Bob Marley, someone Anna has never heard of. Surprised, Robert plays a CD and explains Marley inspired him, continuing to sing even after surviving a shooting. As night falls, Robert seals the house, and Anna again urges him to join her journey. Robert questions her belief in the colony, especially when she says God guided her. This triggers Robert, who breaks down, claiming humanity is gone and God doesn't exist. Their argument is cut short by noises outside. The Dark Seekers have tracked the blood trail from the night before. As Anna rushes to protect Ethan, Robert activates exterior lights, but the creatures destroy them and storm the house. He detonates hidden explosives, killing the initial wave. Upstairs, Robert is ambushed by Alpha. They fight, and although Robert stabs him with a screwdriver, it has little effect. Alpha throws him down the stairs. Robert then grabs a hidden gun and shoots a gas canister, creating an explosion. Alpha escapes upstairs, and Robert chases after him, shooting until Alpha leaps out a window. Robert then finds Anna and Ethan hiding under furniture as another Dark Seeker tears through the ceiling. He grabs a nearby gun and kills the creature. Just then, Robert hears more approaching. Alpha has returned with reinforcements. The group flees to the lab as the Dark Seekers begin climbing in through a hole. Inside the lab, Robert and Anna are shocked to see the female test subject recovering. The cure is working. Before they can act, the Dark Seekers break into the lab. Robert seals the glass door and desperately tries to reason with them, insisting he can save them. But the creatures ignore him and continue to attack. Alpha arrives, enraged at Robert, and continues to attack, his powerful strikes beginning to crack the glass door. Robert sees Sarah and Ethan trembling with fear. Acting quickly, Ethan grabs a syringe, takes a vial of blood from the female Dark Seeker Robert treated. He then leads them into a coal tunnel at the rear of the laboratory and hands the cure to Anna, sending it toward to Vermont. As Robert locks the door, he picks up a photo of his family, then pulls out a grenade. As the glass begins to shatter, he charges at Alpha. The grenade explodes, taking both of them with it. The next morning, Sarah and Ethan arrived at the survivor colony in Vermont and welcomed by military officials and other survivors. She hands over the cure to the colony's leaders and tells them the story of Robert, how he sacrificed himself to discover the cure and give humanity a second chance. Thank you for watching until the end of this video. See you in the next one.